my fly shoes on. Stepping out my best self-esteem. No, I'm not a size 3, but I'm still happy. Don't listen to what haters say. Just let my inner beauty shine all up in their face.
Hey everyone, you're here with us, Kristy Salazar
and Brandee J, the Real Women Talk Show. It is our first episode. We are shooting today and we are so excited. And it's been a crazy morning already.
It has. Talk about real life. I gotta keep it real. Oh my goodness, all the prep that we have done for this. And I gotta say, life will throw you curveballs no matter what you try to plan, prepare. It's just life. And that's why we're here, because we're gonna keep it real. And this morning, it was a real morning.
Besides, you running late, the dog chasing me out of the house. It was just crazy this morning. But we all made it here in one piece, which we're happy about. So today we have a great show for you guys, and it's the sex talk.
Yes, we're talking about sex.
A lot of it.
A lot of it. And how to have it, why to have it, and what happens if you don't have it. Sex is a really crucial part of a relationship, and a lot of people forget that, Brandee.
I think not even in a relationship, but just in life in general. Yeah. As women, we're not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to enjoy it. And I'm an addict. I enjoy it, and I talk about it, and people look at me like I'm crazy, but I'm like, it's a part of life. It's a part of who we are. But as women, we get shunned by society to not talk about it. So we're going to talk about it today. So if this makes you uncomfortable, oh well.
Yeah, because you know what, sex it's natural. And I think we've been taught a lot of times that, you know, as women, we can't embrace our sexuality. And for all that you know, I embrace my sexuality.
And men embrace it.
And men embrace it, you know? So it's kind of like we need to take that power back and be able to give ourselves that freedom and those choices. And so we're excited to talk about sex, can't you tell?
Exactly. These Samantha's of the world, like Sex and the City.
Exactly.
She was my favorite character.
She was mine too, because she was a freak.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just a freak. But we learned a lot from Samantha.
Exactly. She owned who she was. She owned her body. She loved her sexuality. And if you didn't like her, it was like a big F you. So, you know, that's how I feel like more women need to be when it comes to their sexuality. Own it, embrace it, and just enjoy it and have fun with it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We have two great guests coming on. I'm so excited.
We are so excited. We have Alisa DiLorenzo with One Extraordinary Marriage. That tells it all.
Yes.
I mean, how do we find out how to have that? And then once we get the extraordinary marriage partnership, then we get Monique with Pure Romance by Monique. And that is like amazing, because we're going to find out how to, first of all, keep it
exciting.
Spicy.
You have to keep it exciting in the bedroom. Role play. I role played before.
Oh my.
I've been a naughty schoolgirl.
Really?
And a vampire. Yeah.
That's Thank you, True Blood, for that one. I'm sure you inspired that. You know, I'll stick to the sexy secretary, maybe a teacher. You know, But it is all about mixing it up. So with these two amazing ladies, we are going to find out how do we get the foundation. That's the most important part. Is the foundation. We're bringing it to the foundation, and then we're giving you the tools to keep it spicy and fun.
Exactly. Because in a relationship, sometimes things happen. You get busy. You have kids. But when you start to have to schedule in sex, there's a problem.
And that's a really big red flag. If you're scheduling sex into your relationship, it's time to take a time out.
Exactly.
And say, wait a minute, because that's where things happen. You have to understand that is a really...
It's a no-no.
It's a bonding part. So,
exactly.
So yeah, we're here, we're excited, and let's talk about sex.
Exactly. So we'll be right back with our first guest. Hey everyone, welcome back. We are here with the Real Women Talk Show talking about sex, Brandee J and Kristy Salazar, and we have a wonderful guest. I met her, I think earlier this year. When did you meet her?
I met her last year.
Okay.
We went to an amazing networking group together, and she's just really a good energy. She has a great energy about her. So.
And she's so fun, and she's 100% real. And
100% real.
Yeah, I say 200, and she deals with us. So that tells you a lot. So we have Alisa here, and we are so excited. She is a world-renowned motivational speaker. She wrote a couple of books. She has a great business with her husband, and we are just excited to have you here to talk about sex and relationships and marriage and just...
She's the guru.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it real. She's San Diego's guru, not just San Diego. And I think that's really important, because we really want to bring people onto the show that are experts in their field. Mm-hmm. And it is really, you know, when you know skill, you own it.
Exactly.
And she's owned sex and relationships. And she's a female.
Owned sex. That's funny.
That's kind of real.
I will take that all day long. I mean, really.
Her husband must be happy.
He is happy.
okay, it's happy. Although we had one of those real mornings too, so I'm not sure how happy it is. But the reality is that women need to embrace their passion.
Yeah, exactly.
And they need to give themselves, I think more women need to give themselves permission to be passionate. Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to their sexuality.
And how do they do that? How, if you have just been taught your whole life to not even talk about it, not even embrace it, how do they start by, first of all, accepting that they enjoy it and having that passion within themselves?
Well, I want to go back to a point that you just said. So often women are finding themselves as adults having kind of brought all this baggage, for lack of a better word, all these messages. I mean, how many times have you been told, good girls don't do that, or sex is dirty, or, you
only when necessary.
Yes. Yeah, really.
To have a baby.
To have a baby. Like, you're only making babies, and then, nothing else.
Nothing else.
And so you can look at some families and you're like, oh, that was 2 times, or that was, right? And yet, sex is this amazing, beautiful thing. And yet we've got all of this broken track. I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, it's like this broken record that's playing in your head going, oh, I shouldn't do that, or you get the body image issues going on. You're like, oh, does he think I'm pretty? I feel bloated. I feel this. I mean, talking about real. There are times when you feel
stuff is setting and it's not going in the right direction.
Like for me, I'm like, is that carne asada burrito right here or is it right here? I mean, it's just the reality of it. And just like we were talking before, for me, my cousin taught me about sex at the age of 14, 15. My parents didn't even talk to me about it.
Right.
So to me, I was in the mind frame that, okay, it must be a bad thing. But my cousin, thank you, Nikita, you made it sound so fun. You really did. So she made it sound amazing.
So from 0 to off the charts.
Yes.
Nothing for mom and dad. Cousins got it all over.
And my thing, I thought my mom never had sex. I just knew we got there somehow, but I didn't see her being this sexual being. I didn't see her embracing her sexuality. So, and it was never something we talked about. It was something, that I think maybe we had one conversation about, and it was don't do it till you're married, and that's it. And it wasn't really, and I think when you talk about sex, you have to talk about, exploring your sexuality and whatever that is, because not everyone, identifies in the same way sexually. So there's so many different components to the sexual identity of a person. And if you're not able to express that or be exposed to that and explore that, you grow up confused. Because you don't know exactly, okay, well, I'm feeling this, but no one's talking to me about this. And all your mom is telling you is, this is this. Exactly. And you're like, well, then you find out there's a whole other world out there.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was part of that world, and that's why it never fit.
Exactly.
So
in a relationship, let's start, how when a couple loses that passion for each other, how do they get it back?
Well, I want to laugh at this too, because you, Kristy, at the beginning said, don't schedule sex.
Yes, we
That's
did say that.
And I'm actually going to turn that on its head and say scheduling sex can be a good thing.
Okay.
And the reason why is, we don't have our phones on the set here. They're right on the other side of the camera.
Yes.
But every single one of us has a calendar on our phone, right? And it pretty much dictates, you were talking, Brandee, that you've got like 4 different meetings today after taping the show. So our lives are dictated by that calendar. Our priorities are on that calendar. So what if your partner was so important that they made it on the calendar and you treated it like the doctor's appointment that it takes you 3 months to get and you don't break for any reason?
See, I didn't think of it like that.
And then you have a little ringtone that says
sex. You get a fun one that's like,
yeah, like kids, bed, now, shut up, we gotta go.
TV off. All electronics down. Bye. But that's what we talk about with relationships, is that our spouses, our partners should be so important that they make it onto that calendar.
See, I just saw it like, for me personally, I'm just like, I don't want to schedule it. I'm like that
spontaneous.
But it's really hard with the kids, and then like you have my son who's banging on the door, and we're like, go watch SpongeBob, we're busy. So,
and they do remember that, I'll tell you that much. They do remember that.
Here's the other thing too, is that, because I hear from so many people, be it through the podcast or coaching and whatnot, we want spontaneous sex. Like, everybody wants spontaneous. Hollywood's done a fabulous job of thinking that there will always be rose petals and violin music, and the pillows will be fluff, and your makeup will be perfect, and your body will be perfect.
And then when it's not, you're disillusioned and
you're disappointed and you're frustrated. I mean, we were working with a couple one time, my husband and I, and the husband's like, I want spontaneous sex. And the wife does, the one eyebrow thing, and she's like,
you're going to pay when you get home.
So how's that working out for you? Right? Because everybody wants
Yes.
it.
Exactly.
But how do you get it? You schedule the time, but you don't schedule the act.
Yes.
Right? So you can say, you know
Okay.
what, we're going to have sex. Like in our case, Tony and I, we have the intimacy lifestyle, and we've split the week. So I've got 3 days to initiate sex, and he's got 3 days to initiate sex.
that.
So he doesn't know when.
Where is
I'm
my
going-
notebook at?
Yes.
Well, good thing this is a TV show, so it's all recorded. So he doesn't know when I'm going to initiate, and he
Okay.
doesn't know how I'm going to initiate. He just knows that if I get to my 3rd day and I haven't, guess what? By midnight, we're having sex.
Oh, wow. See, I love that idea because
That is a
it gives
good
you the
idea.
anticipation that it's coming. You don't know when it's coming,
Exactly.
but it's bound to come.
Right.
And so you actually have that desire starts to build up. It's kind of like foreplay. You're like, okay, it's coming. I don't know when. So, but it has to happen by this deadline because if not, you're...
Right. You might be having a quickie at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens, and quickies should be a part of every couple's repertoire.
Define
yeah.
quick.
Define quickie. I mean, well, that depends on the two of you. Because for some couples, it's like, 2 minutes in the shower before, in between, or, I mean...
See, I can't do shower as black women. No. Hair. So can't
Okay,
do
so
it.
not in the shower.
Not in
So maybe in the closet.
Yeah.
Right? Or like, I mean, I've had couples tell me, like we go out and, the one place the kids will never go, right, is the laundry room. Because it's like, we don't do our own laundry. And so they'll go and turn on the washer and the dryer, and they've got a good, they can
there
do a
you
couple
go.
minutes or a few, and then you've got
Okay.
the added motion of the washer and the dryer. So you got
See,
All of a
that
sudden,
going.
laundry got fun, ladies. Like,
Exactly.
seriously.
Laundry got real fun. Like me and my husband, when we were dating, it was spontaneous. Cars everywhere, and then now with 3 kids, it's just like
Mom.
and then this and that. But for me, I enjoy having sex at night. For some
So do
reason.
I.
It's hard for me to get into it in the daytime. I don't know if that's a mental thing, but
That is a mental thing.
Okay, it is, because at night I'm just like an animal. Like, let's go. And then like the other night I was gonna roll over, and my son got into bed. I was like, roll back over. So I'm just like, called my husband. I'm real horny. We got something needs to happen because I can't. He needs to go in his bed. So
Here's a little thing for all you moms that
Yes.
are watching this show. Door locks are a fabulous thing. And if you lock it every night, then the kids don't know if this is a night, like, okay, so I'm going to rat out my in-laws here because they already know, because we've talked about them on the podcast, so this isn't the first time I've said it. But when my husband was growing up, he would always know when his parents were having sex because he could hear the door lock, right? So we actually lock our door every night.
So they don't know when you're having
You don't know when we're having sex.
okay.
And they have to knock, and that way you can at least be started.
I agree.
And you have that, like, hold on. Maybe it takes you an extra 30 seconds to get out of bed, but at least you don't have to roll over and find somebody there.
I do the
Exactly.
same thing. I'm constantly it's just a force of habit. Lock that door. Just lock that door. It's just kind of like, okay, this is my sanctuary.
Exactly.
You do not come in unless asked.
I have to
you
get
know?
to that because I'm like, the baby. He's 4. He's but it's like mama's baby, and he's just like,
Mama's never gonna get so much. She keeps
I know,
begging.
because it's getting fun. I'm getting so frustrated. And I'm just like, calling my husband, like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need some sex. Like, I'm just gonna go explode. So you need to just do something right now. So
Door lock.
Door
Today.
lock.
Today.
So we will be
If you
locking
don't already
the door.
have one,
We have a lock.
Okay, then just start using it.
Okay.
It'll be good. Because it gives you that freedom to know that there isn't going to be a little body in your
Yes.
bed. Or you're not going to have somebody open the door and say, Mommy! No woman wants to hear
And
Mommy.
let's say someone does. You as an expert, what is supposed to be the proper response if you are in the middle of it and you just have a visitor come on in and it's not your mom, but it's one of your own? What are you supposed to do? Like, what is the proper way to handle that situation and not scare them with sex?
I guess.
Well, and that's a really important part because we, I think, as a society, need to start giving our children the message that sex is a good thing, but it's something we want you to wait for.
Yes.
Right? Till you're older, till you're in a position where you're, mentally and emotionally able to handle it. I don't want, I have a teenage son. I don't want him having sex yet. And so I've been framing it within, like when you're older, right now I'm still framing it within marriage. The optimistic mom.
Yes.
The optimistic mom,
Yes.
I'm framing it within marriage. But giving them the expectation, my kids know what sex is.
You're open about it.
We're open about it. And so, just say, okay, it's going to be awkward. Like, let's just face it. You get a visitor during sex. It's awkward for everyone because they have no idea what they're seeing.
Yes.
And
Are you hurting, Mom? Are you?
is this a good thing?
going on?
Like, what's going on? So just ask them to leave and let them know you'll be with them in just a minute. And then you open up the
Kind of like customer service.
Yeah.
Excuse me, hold on.
Please hold.
Or I'm like, we're wrestling right now. Get out the room. Play
There
the
you go,
game.
wrestling. You know, and it's so good. If you do have children, it's so good to have that conversation
Yes.
beforehand. Like,
Oh.
let's talk, you know, you and your spouse, your partner, talk about it. Go, okay, what if? Because then you've at least thought about it, and so you're not like,
Scrambling.
you know, deer in the headlights. You guys all know what I'm talking
Yes.
about. The, which is probably not
Literally.
the best face to hang
I have to say that was a great face.
So real women, I mean, this is what we do.
Exactly.
But you have the conversation ahead of time, and then go and talk to your kids.
Okay.
Don't avoid it, because again, if you avoid it, then they have no idea what they saw and how they're processing.
And then that starts the perception that it's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing. Like, we can't talk it. Like, mommy and daddy.
Or the
just-
curiosity
Yeah.
becomes where it's an unhealthy curiosity.
Right.
Because they're scrambling to figure out what you could just easily explain. Instead, they're looking at every book, the internet. The internet is a great sex resource now for kids all of a sudden, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
I come to find out that, you know, when there's a curiosity,
They go
that
to the
internet is just goes
Google.
to guys.
Google it.
Google it. Yeah.
Google
so
it.
we really want to be that example
Right.
for our children sexually, as far as where we're steering them to.
Exactly. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, we're back. It's Kristy Salazar, and I have Alisa DiLorenzo here, and she is the founder, author. I mean, the title is everything, but One Extraordinary Marriage is something that she's very known for. And I want to talk to her a little bit about, because, you know, on the show we talk about real women, and how do our real life issues impact our passions and our destinies, and how do we turn things around full circle? You know, in our last segment we talked about a little bit of who you were, and, you know, we talked about, you know, the sex expert that you are and the relationship, but where did that come from?
It came from a place of pain. And I think a lot of women birth their passions out of their pain.
I agree.
My husband and I have been married 18 years, and the first 11 were not good. In those first 11 years, we dealt with the pornography addiction that he brought into our marriage.
Okay.
That lasted a good 8 years into our marriage. We dealt with crazy financial debt. I mean, we did Keeping Up with the Joneses to like the nth degree. We could have been the poster child for Keeping Up with the Joneses, with credit card debt and credit card shuffle and just trying to be like everybody else. And in that time too, we also lost a child.
Wow.
And so we were like two ships passing the night. We found ourselves 7 years ago with 2 young children, a business, not this business, but a different business, and just strangers, roommates, you know, raising these kids and wondering, what does the future hold for us? And we were actually leading a small group at my church, and one day Tony calls and says, I think we should do a small group study on sex. And I looked at the phone, and all I could think of was, we're not having sex.
How can we talk about
We
it?
can't talk about something we're
not
doing,
experts.
right? Like, we don't even have, like, we're lucky we have sex once a month at that point in time. And so I said, you know, in kind of that snarky wife voice, sure, find me something to do and we'll do it. And he came back and we found a study, and as we were getting ready to prepare for it, he's like, I think we should have sex for the 60 days that we're going to be doing this study. It's like an 8-week study. And then I thought, there is no way with 2 young children that I've got the time, the energy, or the inclination to have sex with you every day for 60 days. Like, I'm not doing this. And yet, I thought, you know what? The next day I remember holding a basket full of laundry. I mean, typical mom thing. Real women, basket full of laundry in my garage. And I thought, if I'm not willing to try, it's
Why
over.
be here?
It's over. Like, we got nothing. So we did 40 out of 60 days.
Wow.
Crazy adventure.
That's amazing. I gotta say, 40 out of 60
40
days.
out of 60 days. And I will say this, he was the one to beg off first. After 9 days, he's like, I need a break.
Wow.
And so just real women here, you know, I did maybe make the comment to him offhanded, okay, so you can get too much of a good thing. You know, just having fun with it. But those 40 days, those out of that 60 days, that transformed our relationship.
Really?
It was from there that we started rediscovering the things that we didn't know, or that we did know but we weren't using those first 11 years, about communication, about making time for one another, about changing things up and doing things differently. Just because people say go on a date night, it doesn't mean dinner and a movie. That is not set in concrete anywhere.
A date can be anything.
It can be anything. It can be, you know, it can be going to a spa together. It can be, you know, walking along the beach. It can be antiquing. I don't care. Wherever you live.
Wherever the intimacy allows to be there.
It's the time. It's the time that we give to our partners that is so, so important. And so we did that. And then the following year, we were invited to speak at a marriage conference. And so we share our story. And I will tell you that all the men, it was a marriage conference, all the men looked at Tony like, dude, what did you put in her drink? And where can I get some? And all the women, and I'm sure some of you in the audience are probably doing this right now when you heard Kristy say, wow, 60 days, that's impressive. All of the women were like,
Automatically.
I don't want to know who this girl is. I don't want to know what she does. And the fact that she's even talking to us before date night is just lousy. Because my husband's going to be like, let's try that. So those were the reactions. And then people started saying, you know what, have you written a book? What's the next step? And we're like, I don't know. We had 60 days of sex. Like that was the
and a story.
And then we have a story, and we changed our marriage, and that was the next step. And so that's where we started saying, okay, how do we get this message out? We started a blog, and 5 years ago, for us, doing the daily blogging was painful.
Yeah.
And so Tony, again, my big idea husband, says, let's start a podcast. And I thought, I'm giving this guy 10 episodes, and because nobody's going to listen to us. Who's this little couple from San Diego, right? And then we started hearing from people around the world.
Wow.
We started hearing from people in Alaska, and I'm like, Alaska? Who's
in Alaska?
Who's Alaska? You know, to all of you listening from Alaska, we love you. Real Women Talk Show loves you.
Yes, we
One
do. Alaska
Marriage loves you. And then we started hearing, from people in Europe and people in Australia and Africa and Asia, and I'm like,
the power of a podcast. It's like people don't understand. So many people focus on traditional media, but the power of a podcast expands boundaries internationally.
Absolutely.
And those people are people that can't sit in front of their TV and get you on their channel, but they sure can go on that wonderful world, the internet.
Yes.
And they can see your face, and they can engage with you, and they can connect with you. And that's why you probably found yourself so surrounded by support with the podcast, because you were able to really just get yourself out there, just diverse. I mean, it was a really good platform for you.
Absolutely. And just like what you and Brandee are doing with Real Women Talk Show, it was Tony and I being real. We have over 250 episodes of us sharing our marriage, the good, the bad, and the really ugly. Times when we've been fighting on the air and still record it, times when we've been sharing our broken hearts over different life experiences. Times when things have been going really well. Times when those kids, like we talked about in the first segment, have knocked on the door and interrupted sex. We talk about it all because there is such a hunger for truth. Authenticity. For men and women to be saying, you know what, this is who I am, and I'm not perfect, but these are the challenges. And there's this sense of community, realizing that you're not alone. It's what I love about, the idea that you guys have put behind this show, is that it's going to be real life.
Yes. And I think that's really what we wanted to give to our viewers, was the real life situations. And what do you do when a relationship has taken that turn for the worse, whether it's through an addiction, whether whether it's through infidelity, whatever it's through, that those challenges that a relationship faces, how do you get back on that right track? How do you look at your partner or your husband and say, your wife, say, I adore you, I love you. Somehow we got off track a little bit, and our ships have been crossing in this ocean together, but I still want to sail with you.
Right.
So how do we get back in sync with that? Like, what is the first step to just saying, okay, I'm all in. I don't know how we got here, because like you said, it was driven from pain.
Right.
That created a passion and a destiny for both of you. But how do you just switch that and turn around and say, you know what, I'm in this?
Well, and I love what you just said there when you said, I'm all in. Because I think so many marriages and relationships fail because both people aren't saying, I'm all in.
Yes.
And when I'm coaching folks, I will ask them point blank, are you all in? Are you willing to give this 100%? Because we can't change what's going on if we've got one foot out the door.
That's right. Because we still have options.
We still have options. Yeah, Tony and I did a show called Divorce is Off the Table for a reason. Because you have to take that word out of your vocabulary and say, I'm all in. Because here's what happens, Kristy. If you're all in, then when the communication starts to drift, when you're not having sex, when you're not spending time together, guess what? You've got to come up with a solution for that, because divorce is not an option.
Yes.
And so, if you're struggling with communication, you find a communication program. Tony and I wrote one called He Zigs, She Zags, Get Your Communication on the Same Path. Because we knew that this was a struggle for us, and it's one of the top struggles that people come to us with. If you can't do it by yourself, then you need to go seek out a coach.
and I got a coach for you because we got the best of the best here on the Real Woman Talk Show. And this woman, I really think, honestly, I am just so excited that you're on board with us because you're going to see a lot of this woman because we want to bring resources that allow us to keep it real. We're not looking for it to always be pretty because life is not always pretty. It's not always about the makeup and the hair. It's about that real nitty gritty, oh my gosh, what do I do now? And I just think that you're going to be an amazing asset with us. Like we were just so where can we find you? Where can we get a hold of you? Where can our viewers support you?
The easiest way in our hub is oneextraordinarymarriage.com, and that's ONE, extraordinarymarriage.com. You will find links to the podcast, to the books, to iTunes. I mean, if you come to One Extraordinary Marriage, you will be able to find us. And if you need to get in touch with me, just go to the contact us, and I'd be happy to connect with any of you watching Real Women Talk Show.
There you go, ladies. We're giving it all to you. So we're keeping it real, and we'll be back in just a bit. Real Women Talk Show with Brandee J and Kristy Salazar. Be back.
Hello, everyone. We are back on the Real Women Talk Show talking about sex. And our second guest today is Monique from Pure Romance by Monique. So we have her on because in relationships, like we said earlier, you sometimes how do you spice it up? And yes, ladies, use toys. Yes, role play. So we have an expert here who not only knows this, but she provides these any toys or items that you may need. So welcome, Monique, to our show. Thank you so much for being a part of it. So please, I want to first talk about how did you start? What made you get into this?
Oh, well, since we're on the Real Talk Show, let's talk about that. My honey at the time was deployed. So, you military wives and girlfriends, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So the need was definitely there. And he was like, you need to go out and have fun, and enjoy the girl time. I said, I don't know, honey, I miss you a lot. He's gone for a year. And I said, well, I could always use some extra money, supplement my income. I was in a full-time in the Army at the time, second lieutenant. And shout out to the Army. I love the military. And I was like, I could totally, use some extra money. And I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck, the financial need. So I went to the first party, and I fell in love with the girls there. They were just so much fun. It was a friend of mine, Kristen. Thanks so much for my first party. I know I sucked. I got better. No, seriously, my first party, I was like, hi, Monique. And I read off note cards. It was horrific. But I got better, thank goodness. And my honey was satisfied with me doing that. He was like, yes. Before then, I never, tried anything like that. Like, I remember, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I've never tried this. Now, don't worry, I'm an expert now. I'm good to go. Sorry, Mom.
She's like, that's my baby.
So that's why I got into it. And it was just the joy of just getting out and experiencing and meeting a new woman. That's what I
know when you do the parties, there's a lot of women that probably come up to you and like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for selling these things, because it makes them get out of their comfort zone.
Exactly.
And do things that they haven't done before. So what is one of your top selling products that all women ask for?
Well, I think every woman needs the executive. And this is I call it the Benz of the Mercedes-Benz of the toy world. It's rechargeable.
Is it waterproof?
It is. It's fully submergible. Yes, it is amazing. It is luxurious. It's beautiful. It's pink, so all our feminine girls are like, yes. And when I have a client, I've sold her a lot of products, and she said, Monique, this is by far the best toy you've ever sold me, and I've sold her at least this particular.
So it's like the rabbit. So I was watching Sex.
It's like the rabbit, but an upgrade to the rabbit.
Oh, okay.
This is an upgrade. This is medical grade silicone. I mean, it is amazing, like by far, and it like revs up like your engine does. Like literally, you just press them down. It's amazing. In case of an earthquake, this is the toy you want to take out. You know what I'm saying? Like you might get your kids. You're like, oh,
the kids, and we got the executive. That's all we need. All good. We'll get everything later.
Exactly. So the executive by far is my number one selling product.
Oh, wow. And when it comes to, do a lot of women come up to you at your parties to ask for advice on, if they're not okay with role playing? Like, I'm sure there's toys that you provide that gets them into that character. What do you tell them about the toys and how to get into the character?
Well, a lot of women the reason that they're not comfortable in their body, is because, you know, we're not taught to be sexual creatures. You know, men are, it's usually, you're like, men are the, you know, aggressive ones. So
exactly.
that's, you know, that's
if
what
a man
we're taught.
has like 5 women at a time,
right, that's okay.
Like,
but if a woman does, she's a hoe, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's just unfair. It's just not fair, okay? And yeah, so I'm all about changing that. But yeah, I tell women, I said, you know, just enjoy sex. It is supposed to be enjoyable. You know, role play with your partner. Even if you don't have a partner, you're sexy single, wear lingerie for yourself. Like, why not? How sexy do you feel with lingerie on? You know,
for me, I like when I wear it. Sometimes I'm like, okay, let's get to the point. Let's just do what we have to do. I don't wear thongs because this butt, it disappears. So that is not lingerie I wear, and I make that very known. I only wear thongs on photo shoots, and that's about it. Because I'm like, this is an overrated little string thing. But you know,
we're cute boy shorts.
Being honest, I do the boy shorts. I do the sexy boy shorts. So that's good. But for me, like, I enjoy role playing, and for me, I enjoy talking crap during it because you know, it spices it up. It spices it up, and it just makes it exciting. As women, we have to. You know, getting that boring routine of, you know, what's coming next. If you know what position's coming next,
it's bad.
It's bad. Like, if you can say 5, 4, 3, and he's going to do this, it's bad. So Monique is here to make that situation go away for you guys. So you have to get some of her products. Go book her for one of your parties. And we don't have any here, but we're going to bring her back because we are going. I want to see this executive because.
Oh my goodness, yes. She's going to be amazed. Her hand's going to be like, oh, I need this.
I'm like, amazing. So happy right now.
Yeah, everyone in America. That's my goal.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it 8 years. November made my 8th year in business.
And I've seen so many pictures of you, like even with celebrities, and just excited about the product and what you do. So you're really doing a great job. And more women need to just be comfortable with their sexuality, embrace it, enjoy it, and just have fun with it. Sex is fun, you know. And as like, you know, like she said, as you know, when men have, you know, 5 people, it's like they're the man. But women, we are looked at as hoes, and it's like, why? When we just enjoy it.
Well, and I tell women we can be the aggressors as well. You know, I mean, like Alisa was saying, you don't necessarily have to schedule sex. You know, for me, that's what I said. But you can do a date night. I'm a huge proponent in date night. So at least, you know, once a month where y'all can switch turns, you know, planning it, and you don't know what's gonna happen. Exactly. And again, it doesn't have to be somewhere. We actually sell a date night game where it's like opening those lines of communication again. And, you know, you're relearning your partner sometimes. Because that, you know. Because
over the years, you have to, like, when you, like, first get together, you have no kids, it's just like,
it's fun. It's like a sexapalooza, you know?
Exactly. And for me, one thing, before I got married, I told my husband, look, I need sex 3 to 4 times a week, or we will have to end this. And he looked at me as if I was crazy, but it's just like, that's just how I am, and more women need to just be that way. If you enjoy it, let your partner know what you want on front, because with men, you gotta tell them, because they can't figure us out. They have not, and they will never figure us out. So
what are they from Mars? We're from Venus.
Exactly.
It literally is.
Exactly. So just tell your partner what you want, and that opens up that line of communication and makes it more comfortable to discuss it.
And it may change, you know, especially as you have kids. You know, the time's gonna change. When you first got together, it may be 3 times a day. I've heard. And then it's gonna shift after that because your priorities shift, you know, with your kids. But I always tell people, you gotta sometimes be a little selfish, which is hard as a mom. But you gotta be a little selfish, and you know, because orgasms are good. They're good for your skin. They're good for everything.
And they're a stress reliever.
They are. And so if you're really stressed, you know,
you have sex.
Yes, seriously.
I've done it. Had it when I was like,
you're like, I feel much better.
So amazing. Like, I'm so happy right now.
Like that friend, you're like, she's an itch with a bee in front of her. You know, you're like, oh my goodness, she needs to go release some endorphins, because it does. It makes you happy. It's kind of like when we have chocolate.
I can tell with my best friend, I'm calling you out. Sorry. When she does it, I'm like, do you need some? Do I need to go find someone? Because you need to really just let it go and relax. And, you know, so we have those open conversations with each other.
Even my best friend, the stuff I hear is funny for my friends. I love you. All my friends, I love you. But yeah, they always call me, and I was like, okay, it's like Geraldo. Hi, Geraldo. But I always joke. I'm like, I'm the love guru. So yeah, I always have fun with my friends. But yeah, one of my best friends, she said, you know, I'm just tired of sex. You know, we're on different schedules. You know, he wants it in the morning, I want it at night, and it's just not working. I said, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Sometimes you gotta compromise, you know, in a relationship. And get on his schedule sometimes, you know, I'm not saying all the time, but she said I turned from a sex kitten to a sex goddess. And I was like, yeah. She's like, I get amped up. That's one of our products too. It's an arousal heightener. And she was like, I get amped up, and I was like, I'm on top of him. I was like, oh, okay, good job. She was like, thank you so much.
You're like,
so
yes.
Yeah.
So where can they find your products and where can they contact you?
Okay, so my website is pureromancebymonique.com, and that's PUREROMANCE by BY Monique. MONIQUE.com. And you see my smiling face, so you know it's me.
And all your products are on
Oh yeah,
there.
all the products are on there. If you want to book a party, get started in a business, it's on there as well. So
great. Well, thank you so much for being a part of our show. We're so happy. We are going to have her back because I want to see these toys. Like, I have to see the executive. Like, I'm thinking about it in my head right now as I'm talking.
You're having a mental gasm, aren't you?
Yes, I really am. So we will be right back with Real Women Talk Show.
So we're back with the Real Women Talk Show with Brandee J and Kristy Salazar, and we have our two amazing guests today, Alisa DiLorenzo and Monique Bolden, and we're just going to be ladies.
Yes.
I mean, this is some girl talk right now.
Girl,
we're going to keep it real,
talk.
right?
Fun tips.
Yes.
Embarrassing stories.
Yes. It's all on the line right now. Who knows
Everything.
what you might hear, but we're keeping it real. And I think that's the whole point, right?
That is the whole point, because as we've been talking over the course of the show, it's being real allows you to just, one, have fun. Because let's face it, when we're real with our partners, guess what? You have a lot of fun. Because then you start to explore each other. You start to say, okay, well, you know what? Maybe that's not working, but maybe if you tried something over here, that would be better. And then all of a sudden you try over there and you're like, well, okay, that is really good.
So stay there.
Stay there. Boom. And that's what I love, you know, Brandee, when you were talking to Monique and you guys were talking about orgasms and things like that, and I wholeheartedly agree that orgasms are good for you. And, you know, what woman has ever said, no, I don't want another orgasm? It doesn't happen.
No, that's weird.
But yeah, that would be weird. But to tell your partners what's working and what's not, because you can't expect them to have ESP.
Yeah.
They can't.
They don't.
Well, and stop having fake orgasms, ladies. Like, seriously, because it's
you're
training
delaying
your
the
body.
process.
Yeah, it's training your body also that's a good feeling, even though you hate that feeling or position that they're doing. So you really have to be truthful and be like, honey, I mean, sometimes they're just taking forever, and you're just not gonna, climax. It's okay. It's okay, ladies. But yeah,
And it's okay to tell them that. Like,
It
today's
is.
just one of those days it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Is that really okay to tell your partner
Yeah,
that?
I have.
Like, it's
I mean,
just
in
not
a
gonna
nice
happen
way,
today.
though. In a nice
You're not
way.
like, get off. Like, just
You're like,
stop.
get up today. Yeah.
Like, you epic fail.
How do you classically tell your partner in a nice way, what you're doing is not working, so let's not.
I always say start off with the positive. Say, honey, I always enjoy our sexual encounters, but today just. Hey, I have a lot on my mind, because that's usually what it is for us as women. We're not clearing our mind. We're doing our to-do list.
Because even in sex, you're thinking
Yeah,
about
you
what you
are.
have to do next.
And you have to be
it's
present in
crazy.
the moment.
Yeah.
That's what I tell girls. I'm like, be present in the moment, because that's what's gonna,
The laundry, it's gonna get done eventually.
Yes,
so don't worry about the laundry. That
Doctor's
needs to get
appointments.
done. The kids getting picked up from school. Someone will get them.
Right.
Or you'll get the phone call, but in between you've had your orgasm and you've had sex.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm running late. I'll go get them.
Exactly.
And I think that's really the key part, is just knowing that those things are going to happen, life situations are going to happen, but it shouldn't put a damp on your sex life or your sexuality, because and what do you do when you have a partner who, say you have one that's very sexual, and then you have another one who's very much more reserved,
conservative.
Exactly, a little bit more conservative, a little bit more shy, maybe afraid to go into a sex shop, and they'll go in a hoodie and kind of like glasses,
Sunglasses,
and all bundled up,
Wrapped
and
up.
here you're like, oh, look at this new toy, and you're
But we
just
gotta watch
like,
this movie right here.
Exactly. How do you make that compromise to be able to have a functional, good sex life with that person and not feel like you're just up here and their person's down here? How do you do that balance?
Well, I think every relationship has a high desire spouse and a low desire spouse.
Really? That's normal?
That's normal.
Oh.
That's because,
See, I thought that was
because
wrong.
Even if you wanted to have sex 5 times a day or 5 times a day, 5 times a week.
That'd be nice.
Or both. I mean,
Like, what are you doing all day?
You got nothing else to do, right? And Brandee, you can scrap those meetings.
Yes,
Go do something else.
get back to them again.
So, one of you wants to have sex 5 times a week, the other one wants to have sex 4 times a week. That's still a lot of sex, but you've got the 4 times a week person who's the low desire spouse. They just want it a little bit less. Or maybe you want it, 7 times a week and your partner wants it 2 times a week. Part of that is having the conversation. Like, if you're the low desire spouse, embrace that. because it's nothing to be ashamed of. There's just different desires. Sometimes there's medical reasons, sometimes there's stress, and it can change over the course of a relationship too. But it's also working together. I love what you were saying about the sex toys and things like that, is that, give yourself permission to try different things, if it's the executive or if it's amp up for arousal or whatever it is. But for the high desire spouse, there may be times you feel frustrated, but if you understand the low desire spouse, and this is who they are, I mean, you can't change that.
You got to accept it.
And who they are.
You accept who they are, but when the communication piece is in there, Monique, you touched on communication with the date night, with game?
Yes, the
date night game. Yes. I'm like, I think that's what I was hearing. When you build that communication, then you understand. So the high desire spouse is like, can we cuddle? Can we, sleep naked? Can we do?
Hopefully it lends to something else.
The low desire spouse would be like, today all I'm up for is, cuddling naked. And that's okay, because at least they're trying to meet you. Because you're never gonna be able to go farther than as far as the low desire spouse or the more conservative spouse is gonna want to go. Because if you try and go past that,
it's just not.
The day's rolling. Everybody knows what happens. I mean, the brakes come on. All of this stuff comes on. So it's opening the lines of communication. And what I've seen in coaching couples is that as they start to build that communication, the low desire spouse, while there may never be as high as the high desire spouse,
but it raises.
It will raise. And when you bring in other toys or lubricants or arousal enhancers or whatnot, they start to discover who they are, because a lot of times a low desire spouse is just low desire because they've never given themselves permission.
They have never opened up that door.
They've never, to say, I can be a sexual being. I can embrace my sexuality. And so when they get permission and when they have a willing partner who's willing to work with them, then you start to see changes happen.
And I'm a firm believer that there's a little freak in everybody.
Oh, you just got to bring it out. You just have to bring it out.
You have to bring it out.
It's the right person to bring it out.
You have to if you're there's a little freak in everybody.
It's on one side of your shoulder, and the little one's on the other side.
So don't freak. That's
exactly. Just bring it out. It's okay. Be that freak in the morning, in a minute, because it just gets you going. And believe me, when you just let it go, best sex.
And I think also it starts, the foreplay starts throughout the day. You can't, when you have someone who maybe has a lower sex drive than you have to gradually make it into a game. So it can't just be you're ready to have sex and boom, it's going to happen. If you have someone who has a lower sex drive, people with higher sex drives, they can get into that mode ASAP.
Right.
People who don't, it's kind of like a dance. You're courting them throughout the day because you're hoping that you're going to get them in that mood, but you also got to be careful, because one bad step in your dance and you're going to end up on their feet and you ain't getting it. So you have to really learn the ebb and flow of how that relationship works and the dynamic, so you can stay in sync with that person, so that you're not like, here you're doing good all day, you're being really sweet and you're affectionate and everything, and then one bad move and it's all is lost.
Well, and the other thing I would say to that is that for the low desire spouse, you can't just blow them off after the one bad move. Because, how many times have you inadvertently done or said something to your partner and you're like,
I'm not going to get none.
Well, that just ruined it.
But what about taking away? Because my mom always, she's been telling me this, and she's going to be so mad. But she's always told me, I know. She's always said, well, he gets on your nerves, says, take the cookie away. Take it away. I'm like, but... I'm taking away. I know. I'm taking away from myself. Exactly. I can be mad and still have sex.
That's like old school thinking. That's what that is old school thinking. They're like, oh, we're just taking it away, and they're not gonna go anywhere. And you're like, okay,
that's not working.
Papa was a Rolling Stone for a reason, okay? Because I tell women, I said, if they're not getting it from you, they're gonna get it somewhere else, unfortunately. And it's just, again, about being real, right?
It's the reality of it.
And you don't want that. So don't try to take the cookie away thinking, 6 months, a year, 2 years.
Punishing. I think punishing is really wrong when it comes to sex.
And
sex
is not a weapon.
Yeah,
right.
And
women use it as a weapon against them, and then it just creates more issues.
It does.
I'm a firm believer have sex when you're mad, because it just makes it more intense.
It makes it better.
And then once you orgasm, you're like, okay, I'm good.
And then you forget what you were arguing about.
Exactly.
You're like,
you ain't got to do those dishes. It's fine.
What are we talking about? Yeah.
And I can't tell you, man, if you're curious, and this was brought to my attention, many years ago. I was speaking to a male friend of mine, and he said, I really think that if a man is confused about a woman's body, the way she works, and, all the little details about her, he said, have him make a lesbian friend. Because here's why. Women understand other women. So when it comes to our relationships, we are more, we understand the way the body works. And a lot of times guys can't figure that out. So if you're a man struggling and you don't feel comfortable going to another man, it's okay to come to a woman, to find a woman in your circle. Trust me, we're everywhere. Find a woman in your circle.
Just like having a gay male friend.
Exactly.
Right.
It's good for the guys to have the same thing because it allows them to understand and ask questions. Like when I get questions, I don't mind answering them because I feel like someone is going to benefit from the information. And I would rather you have a happy wife, girlfriend, partner, whatever it is, and you look like the man and be like, oh my God, my baby's got it together, and not know where the information came from, but it allows you to understand another side of it, right, from a woman's perspective.
Well, and every woman's body is different. So, it's, you know, some women can orgasm just through, you know, vaginal penetration, some can't. So, as a man, you need to understand that as well. Like, every woman is not the same, so you gotta, you know, figure that out.
And that's a pretty big statistic because a lot of women cannot orgasm both through a vaginal as well as a clitoral.
Yeah,
so it really
is
is
the easiest
different.
way. 97% of us can.
Yeah.
So I mean that's just easier. But you see the pornos and you know they make it seem like oh yeah you're just gonna climax together.
Yes.
And I'm like that's not gonna happen.
They don't see take one, take two,
50. They don't understand. It's like okay, this you know this is like
Acting.
editing, right? Exactly.
Exactly.
They're pretending. They're getting paid to do this.
So we're about to have some fun. So let's do some fun tips and embarrassing sex stories.
Oh goodness.
Oh, fun tips and embarrassing.
I know.
sex
I
stories.
heard her say that.
It's not an either or. It's a both.
I heard that. I was like,
Both.
did you say yes?
So what's your fun tip for sex?
Oh, see, and I was already going for the embarrassing. I'm going to start with the embarrassing story because, like, I was already there. So, oh my gosh.
So many.
She's like,
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. I'm like, oh, I
so
got a couple. My parents live in the Midwest. I'll just leave it at that. I won't say the state. You see, we keep something. There are a few secrets just to protect the innocent. And my husband and I had gone back there to visit them. And so Tony's like, you know, like your parents are always around, we can't have sex, you know, this kind of thing. And I'm like, all right. So we go to like the local neighborhood park, which happens to be this really huge park. They've got these like huge play structures and all this kind of thing. He's like, okay, we've got to find a place to have sex. So I'm like, this place is crawling with kids. No door locks here, dude. No door locks. So we get in like this little, I mean, it was just like a little depression, like a little gully type thing. And so, and we got a blanket, but like the entire time I'm like all of a sudden you start like seeing a little eye. I'm like, this is not working for me. This is not good. And so I'm like, okay, and, you know, we left our son at home because it's like, well, I want to go to the park, mommy. Not this time. Dad and I go to the park by ourselves. So yeah, you know, just my advice when you're having sex in
Outdoor places.
Stay away from the places where kids are. You know, under the cover
Animals.
of darkness is good. It was like at dusk in the summer. It was, yeah, I'm like, this is, you know, I'm adventuresome to a point, but that was just kind of pushing the limits. Your turn.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I'm passing that on. Right on.
Yeah, exactly. Midwest as well.
Man, them Midwest people.
What's
I'm
going
just gonna
on?
say, I think the Midwest girls probably have a reputation as opposed to like the East Coast or the West Coast. And I'm just saying, you know, we got a few Midwest stories going on.
I don't know what's going on.
The Midwest
Something in common, I know.
Hashtag Midwest.
So me and my honey at the time, we were like, you know what, we can't wait. Let's do it in a car. We're like, okay, sure. So we decided to do it. It was at the fairgrounds in an undisclosed state. And then a cop comes behind us, probably like 10 minutes into it. And he's, you know, he like bangs on the window and it's like foggy, of course, and crazy. And I'm like trying to cover myself up because I'm so embarrassed. And he was like, yeah, you know, you kind of gotta leave or whatever. I'm like, okay, can you hold on for a second? Can I finish? So we finished and then we left. But it was so embarrassing. I was like, oh my God, we can get arrested. You know, like my mom's gonna tell me out. This is awesome.
Foggy windows.
So yeah.
Like, Mom,
bad.
please come bail me out.
Yeah, I was having sex in the car at the fair. She would be like, wait, first. My mom didn't know I was having sex at the time. Sorry, Mom. She didn't know for like.
I'm saying sorry, Mom.
Yeah, I am. Like,
I know.
because I know my mom. She's so like we never had to talk. It was just one of those, and I think it, you know, again, it was a generational thing.
Exactly.
And so now, you know, I'm all about having sex talks with everyone. Like I remember going to UCSD for a sex fair, and just the things that the kids didn't know about. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? It's like,
Really?
yeah, in college. So it just goes to show you people
The
are not
awareness.
talking
They're not
about
educated
exactly.
about it.
There's a lot of work to do.
I know.
Yes.
I would say mine. I say we kind of got into this this show, and in the show it was like showing like all these different things, like oh, you know, on the wall, and you just lift someone, and there was just when you have
2 women together, there's not the same strength. So I gotta say, we had so many epic fails. And probably like a couple bruises later, and maybe, you know, it was
This isn't gonna work.
It was kind of like you needed padding to really kind of do these exercises. And so not everything you see on TV is as easy as it's supposed to be. But I think that, again, because we see so much on media, we have this expectation. Yes. And I mean, it was a lot of fun trying, but looking back at it, it was like, oh my God, what was I thinking? That's not gonna work. Like it didn't go over as easily as the camera showed in the show.
Hashtag balls.
Hashtag balls.
Epic fail.
Yeah.
Hashtag wall.
Hashtag sex bruises.
Wall fails.
Oh God. So mine is really embarrassing. I was 19, still living at home, and my dad walks in on me, and I'm on top.
Oh my.
And all I did was like, I froze and I looked, and I know he was just like, because I'm the youngest, his first thing was like, my baby. Oh. And then I'm just like, what do I do?
My baby's booty.
Yes. I mean, at least I was taking charge, you know. But
go get her, Brandee.
That's right, girl.
Yeah. Oh my God. And my mom, she was like, are you on drugs? I'm like, really, Mom? No. So it was just like so embarrassing.
You're like, no, I'm on top.
I know. My boyfriend at the time, he did come back and apologize to my parents because I was like, you need to apologize. So he manned up and apologized to my dad. But
I'm sorry, your daughter was on me.
But I really liked it. I really enjoyed it.
But you made him apologize for the fact that the 2 of you were having sex in your parents' house.
Yes. That's how he apologized. So
how did your dad respond?
Oh my God, my dad was a alpha male, military, and raised all girls. So I think he was shocked because my dad is not less for words, and he could not say anything but get out my MF house to my boyfriend. And then I was like, I don't know what to do, so I left too. So So then after my boyfriend came back the next day and apologized, like we never talked about it again. And I was like, okay. I was like, you know.
So my question is, did y'all have sex in your parents' house again?
Oh, we did.
Okay.
Oh my. Sorry, Mom. You know, but it happens, you know. But it was just like, it was so crazy. And it's just like, okay. And it wasn't like we couldn't sneak people in because my dad, he installed a camera at the front door.
Oh, you serious?
So after that, he installed a camera. So it was just like, I'm like, we're 19. I'm like, he's like, what time did you know? I'm like, who was that? I'm like, no one. He's like, pulled up the camera. I was like, forget it. I'm done.
The cameras.
Wow. So that's my most embarrassing sex story.
But you know what? Sex is fun. It's something that, and I think the more we talk about it, how many of you ladies out there or people out there have those embarrassing moments that you're just like, oh my gosh, I wish I could tell someone. It's like, we need to share those things because people feel normal. That's the whole point of the show. We want to make you feel normal. We all know
we're all normal.
It's just life, and you're gonna
Speak
have
for yourself. I'm not sure.
I know. I was like,
and this
normalcy.
I don't know.
We only had one morning with Terrence go crazy.
Exactly. I accept being crazy.
Yes.
So
own it. If you're crazy, own it. I mean, it's just the way, whatever you are, own it. And I think that gives a real refreshing feeling to people to just be able to own whatever your freakiness is.
If you love sex,
like it. Love it.
Like it. Just own it.
Like Samantha,
just own it.
There you go. Let that inner Samantha come out.
Yeah.
So Valentine's Day is going to be coming up.
Really soon.
What is for all of us, what is a really good Valentine's idea that you know, maybe our viewers can, get ideas from?
Okay. I love, and I've heard, I think each one of you say this over the course of the show, is taking charge.
Yes.
Ladies, the guy does not have to do everything.
Or the woman.
Either way, because some of you are in relationships where your partner is always the one initiating and you never do. And some of you, it's the opposite. And I would say for Valentine's, shake it up. Plan the date night. Because if you're not the one that plans the date night, it will shock everybody.
Yep,
exactly.
And you don't have to do it on Valentine's Day just because they raise all the prices for everything.
Chocolate, strawberries, hotel rooms. You're just like, we gonna stay in tonight.
February 12th and 13th are great days to get a deal.
Yes. And if you've been in a long-term relationship, it's okay.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing: if you do it on the 12th and the 13th. Then she gets to brag to all her friends about how great you were and you just raised the bar.
Got it.
And all these other people are like, crud. What do I do now?
Exactly.
But plan something. So one of the things that I have found is that, and I know just from sitting on this panel, you guys make decisions all day long. You know, like getting here to the studio this morning, 300 decisions before 8 o'clock, right? And none of them were right. We all had that story.
Exactly. I mean, morning was crazy.
But if we have a night where we don't have to make the decisions, where our partner is like, here's where we're going to go for dinner, and here's what we're going to do after, or maybe it's not dinner, maybe it's a picnic or whatever, and here's what I'd love for you to wear because this is what we're going to be doing.
I love that.
Yes.
And I mean, I haven't had a date once with my husband where he like called the restaurant and pre-ordered all my food because he knows what I like, and so I literally showed up and all I had to do was answer what I wanted to drink because and it was amazing, and I was so relaxed because I had to make 0 decisions.
Relinquishing that
just
control.
taking that charge and letting that control go. Yeah. You have to, because I know I'm a control freak, and I'm learning now that just let it go and let your spouse or whoever make those decisions for you. And even as a woman, men get more excited when they see the woman take charge in the bedroom. They really do. They just like, do whatever you want me, baby. Let's get freaky. So they really enjoy that. Or, with whoever you're with, take charge if you are not taking charge, because it really will switch it up.
Do not be a pillow princess.
No.
And that's a term that we use because it's like, don't just sit back in that pillow and wait for something to be done. It's like, dishes don't do themselves.
Pillow princess.
So don't be a pillow princess. And I think that's really, really important. I'll leave you with that. Don't be a pillow princess.
Hashtag pillow princess.
Hashtag pillow princess.
Don't be.
Don't be. Hashtag don't be.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us on our first show. We are so excited. We have so many great things coming this season, and we are planning our retreat, and you will see these two ladies at our women's retreat out here in San Diego next year. So we have so many great things coming, and we are just so happy you guys are a part of our show.
Of course. And we want to say thank you, because before we close out this show, we want to say thank you to Sanctuate.
Yes.
For having us here. We have an amazing high-tech spa behind us, and it gives amazing massages, body wraps. So you need to come check out Sanctuate in San Diego.
And we'll be having an event here.
Yes.
Soon,
January 8th.
January 8th in a couple
the first
weeks.
of many.
Of our many Real Women Talk Show events. And we are so thankful. And I just want to thank my hair and makeup team. Regina, sorry for waking up at 5 o'clock this morning to do my makeup. And my hairstylist, Amber. Thank you so much.
Bellocchio Airbrush Makeup. Yes. You are an amazing sponsor of the Real Women Talk Show. I am so thankful that you're on board with us. Just Real Hair, thank you for being with us as well. Check out 2 amazing San Diego companies, Fashionista, Shimmer. Yes. We thank you so much for the way you are embracing us. We love you. Check out all our sponsors. We'll make sure links are included. And hey, we're keeping it real here.
Yeah, thank you.
See you next time.
Independent, I got my own. Got my girls, got my man, got my fly shoes on. Stepping out my self-esteem. No, I'm not a size 3, but I'm still happy. Don't listen to what haters say. Just let my inner beauty shine all up in their face.